Edgar Wright. He's one of the most prolific filmmakers of all time, known for his quick sense of humor and frenetic editing. He's made great films like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and Baby Driver, but his magnum opus, or opuses, is the Cornetto Trilogy, a trilogy consisting of Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. They're all homages to different film genres, zombie films, cop movies, and alien invasion thrillers, each starring Nick Frost and Simon Pegg, who co-wrote them with Edgar Wright. These three movies are a culmination of what makes Edgar Wright such a special filmmaker: incredible editing that not only works for comedy, but tells the story, incredibly intricate storytelling with tons of foreshadowing and clever callbacks, but at its core, there's incredible, likable characters that are complex. It's what really makes me resonate with the trilogy overall. So enough of my yapping. Let me get into the brilliance of Edgar Wright's Cornetto Trilogy. A lot of comedies just rely on jokes without any effort to inject style. Sometimes they can get away with it because they're just really funny, but most of the time I just sit there bored because they are the visual equivalent of this burger from SpongeBob. There's a few things that make the presentation so great. First of all, the visuals are just nice, but they do a great job at showing some sort of emotion for the characters. Like this one in Shaun of the Dead. It looks cool, but it also conveys the amount of despair that Shaun is feeling because he just got dumped. After years of trying to save this relationship, his world just fell apart. But the best cinematography comes in the action scenes. My favorite set piece in the trilogy is the bathroom fight in The World's End. It looks like it's all one take, but you don't really notice the cuts. While I really love the action, the editing is also pretty top notch. Probably the most iconic moments of editing are the scene transitions.
Entire row is.
Another thing I really like about the editing is how sometimes things happening in the movie are in sync with the music.
Drinking.
Beer. Pubs.
Shall we?
I also really like the moments where there's quick editing and exaggerated sound effects to make mundane things look cool. There's also a lot of great jokes through the editing.
What?
I think what makes this work so well is that there's been so much build up to the gang getting back together and drinking some beer, only for Andy to drink tap water. It just emphasizes how big of a deal it is. I wish more films would put in this much effort into presenting the comedy. Speaking of that, with the comedy film, the comedy is probably the most important part. If you screw this up, the quality drops significantly. But luckily, there's a great variety when it comes to the kinds of jokes they tell in these movies, so there's something you'll like. Firstly, there's just so many great lines.
You mothers.
Executioner! He's not Judge Judy and Executioner!
I really appreciate the emphasis on line delivery. The greatest example is Timothy Dalton in Hot Fuzz. He's so evil and loves it.
May their heads be struck from their shoulders for such disloyalty.
I also love the visual gags. My favorite one is in The World's End.
I'm just trying to decide which of us is the biggest idiot for coming.
Not only is it hilarious, but it does a great job at showing how much regret is seeping through this character. Another reason this trilogy stands out in terms of its humor is that they never feel the need to stop the story in service of a joke. It always flows with it, sometimes even advancing the story or telling us something about the character. The opening scene in Shaun of the Dead is the perfect example. This shot is pretty funny, but it also shows how inattentive Shaun is, because his partner is trying to work out their problems, but he just dozes off. There's also this moment.
Just be nice if we could.
Fuck. It's a funny line, but it also conveys how Shaun and Liz don't get to do anything together and Ed always gets in the way. I don't think any other comedy film is this efficient with its humor. Because of that efficiency, it's able to fit in so many recurring jokes. A recurring gag I really like in Shaun of the Dead is the fart joke. At first, it's kind of presented as a stupid moment, but there's actually a lot more to it. In both cases, the joke was made to distract from a serious moment. The first instance was Shaun pleading to Ed to help around the house.
Do it for me then. I'm sorry, Sean. It's all right. I'm sorry, Sean.
Oh!
Oh my god, that's rotten!
I'll stop doing them when you stop laughing.
Second time it's used in the moment where Ed is about to die, but this time Ed uses it as a way to have a final laugh with his friend. It's really powerful.
Not funny.
Stop doing them when you stop laughing.
Hot Fuzz has a lot of recurring lines, but some of my favorite ones show how Nicholas Angel is slowly becoming more laid back, being able to switch off from work and willing to have a sense of humor about something.
As a doctor, he can deal with it.
Doctor, deal with it.
Yeah, motherfucker.
Even small characters get stuff like that. There's one guy who's portrayed as kind of an idiot, always depending on Nicholas to do anything.
Well, we should get a proper cordon off, screen the remains from public view, close down the road until the ambulance crew arrives, whereupon we should open a single lane of traffic and ease congestion.
Very good. What he said.
But then later in the movie, he comes up with a clever plan.
I say we go in through the front entrance, take the place oil by oil. They won't be expecting that.
Very good. What he said.
The best one in The World's End is the running gag between Gary and Steven, where Gary accidentally comes up with the cool band name and telling Steven to write it down because they were both in a band once. At first, Steven kind of scoffs at the idea, but later in the movie when they come to an understanding, Steven is really enthusiastic about it.
Everybody apart from old Nutball and the Shifty Twins.
That's a good name for a band, Gary. You should write that down.
Not only are the jokes funny, but they are small ways to show how much the characters have grown. I have not seen any other movie that have this multi-layered dialogue that help tell a story. Edgar Wright tells a story like no other filmmaker out there. The sheer amount of setup and payoff and foreshadowing in these movies is insane. What really makes it work is that you never expect anything to come back. It's a level of trust in audiences that you rarely see nowadays. So I'm just gonna give a few examples from each film. I really love how Shaun of the Dead sets up the apocalypse. There's a lot of shots of people walking like zombies, and those characters would eventually turn into zombies. There's also a lot of funny lines like this.
Dead. To ask them?
Next time I see him, he's dead.
Both of those people turn. Another moment that stands out to me is this.
As an increasing number of reports of
Serious attacks on
People who are literally being eaten alive.
Usually in zombie movies they play news footage in the laziest way possible, but here they give that information in a fun, creative way. But another moment of great setup and payoff in Shaun of the Dead was the door being open, letting a zombie walk in.
the door is open again!
All doors and windows firmly locked and barricaded. Police escort.
It makes sense why it happens because both of these characters are established to be idiots. I really love that detail because so many movies change the characters around for the sake of the plot. Now onto Hot Fuzz. This is probably the most complex out of all the movies. The twist of the movie is foreshadowed in the very beginning.
You can't just make people disappear.
It works so well and gives an idea of what the film is going to explore. People who want to make others disappear because they are seen as an inconvenience. Another one of my favorite instances is how they set up all of the action hero stuff that Nicholas Angel is going to do later in the movie.
You ever fired two guns whilst jumping through the air? You ever fired a gun whilst in high-speed pursuit? No.
What makes it so great is that there's a nice cathartic feeling you get out of it because now Nicholas Angel is now having fun while still being a badass cop. But it also enhances Nick Frost's character because he's always wanted to be a cool action hero. But not only is he doing that, but he's actually doing some good. The World's End follows a similar pattern where it basically foreshadows the bigger story, but instead of a small line, it basically goes beat by beat with everything that's going to happen later in the movie. Even in the opening scene, they show the alien mothership landing, but it also ties into the movie's themes, which is how people try to relive the past. So it's a really great idea to have two similar events mirror each other.
I don't think any other film has had this level of intricate storytelling and foreshadowing. Since the films cram in so much, it just makes small moments of things being paid off feel like more of a dramatic plot beat. It also enhances rewatches because you pick up on so many little things that tease what's gonna happen later. It shows how much respect Edgar Wright has for the audience. He knows that people are smart enough to pick up on these things, rewarding you for paying attention, which is one of the big reasons why these films are so timeless for me. This trilogy has some of the best main characters I've ever seen. The only way I could do them justice is to break down each of their stories and explore what makes them so great.
When we first meet Sean, one thing is very clear. He's not a very good boyfriend, not even listening when his partner is trying to tell him about their problems. Sean is just not mature enough to change or keep any promises.
He's basically a total mess and really needs to sort his life out.
And he still holds on to a friend who holds him back, but it's understandable because they've been friends for a long time. Part of me also thinks he just enjoys the comfort out of hanging out with Ed. He just goes to work and then goes home to play video games with this bro. But everything gets worse for him when he gets dumped. She was just tired of Sean repeating things that she wants to hear instead of fixing the problem. He was just coasting off the fact that he got so many chances. Again, he was just comfortable with his behavior because he never really had to face consequences. But now that he got dumped, he directly faces consequences and actively tries to make a change. It's a huge grenade that blew up his life. But the second grenade would be the zombie apocalypse, which basically forces Sean to confront all of his flaws and all of the relationships in his life.
The first is his stepfather, Philip. Sean doesn't really like him because of how hard he was on him as a kid.
Sean doesn't even have any reservations about killing him, but Philip is revealed to be more complicated than that because Sean wasn't exactly easy to live with. In reality, Philip just wanted him to become a man, but Sean wasn't mature enough to realize that. I really love their final exchange when they come to an understanding. Sean realizes that Philip isn't that bad, knowing everything he did came from a good place. Even though it's tragic what happened to him, their relationship is left on a good note. Another person that Sean has to confront is David. It's established that he is in love with Liz. He's excited when they break up, even though he's in a committed relationship. Throughout the film, he just jumps at any opportunity to criticize Sean. Everything culminates when David learns that Sean's mom got bit. Yeah, she is a problem that needs to be dealt with, but it's very clear that David only wants to kill her to get back at Sean.
He's always hated me and now he wants to shoot my mom. She's not. You never thought I deserved her, that I was good enough.
I just really love how this tense situation forces everything to come out. They have to confront their feelings that have been boiling up for years, and it all just works so well. Overall, Sean has a clear, concise arc. He starts off as a lazy loser,
then he becomes a responsible man who's able to make hard decisions. Pretty simple, he sorts his fucking life out.
The very first thing we learn about him is that he's basically the best of the best, but Nicholas's biggest flaw is that he can't switch off. There's never a moment where he doesn't think about police work. He can't even have a conversation with his girlfriend without bringing up the force.
We're actually supposed to call it the service now.
But it becomes a lot more understandable later. It's revealed this comes from the fact that his uncle got him a police pedal car when he was younger, but then his uncle got arrested for selling weed to kids.
He saw in that moment there was a clear right and wrong, realizing the law can be used for good. This is what makes him so likable to me. He is nothing but earnest in his quest to become a police officer.
But unfortunately, he sacrificed important people in his life to do so. But Danny really helps him change. He's the complete opposite of Nick. He is laid back and has a sense of humor, but he desires the kind of lifestyle he thinks Nick has. One full of adventure because of what he's seen in the movies. He has this adorable respect for Nick, but he sees that he has trouble switching off. So he slowly gets him to have more fun and let himself have meaningful relationships in his life. At first, he's not open to making jokes at all, but then he makes a crack at someone for speeding.
Drive safe.
I don't know, but I just really love how he's proud of himself. It's a nice, wholesome moment. Then he starts to enjoy action films.
I won't argue that it was a no-holds-barred, adrenaline-fueled thrill ride.
Then becoming the action hero that Danny wants him to be and becomes a good friend to him. Overall, Nicholas Angel has a really great, concise arc.
He starts off as a no-nonsense police officer who's too dedicated to the force for good reason, but as the film goes on, Nicholas opens up in little ways, like cracking jokes, appreciating the pure insanity of action movies, but most importantly, leaving room in his heart for others.
The first thing we learn about Gary King is that he's obsessed with the Golden Mile, which is a pub crawl consisting of 12 pubs where you drink a pint of beer from each one. He attempted it in high school with his friends, but decades later, he's gonna try again. The way he tries to get them to go really show Gary's flaws, but it's also where a lot of the comedy comes from. He's an asshole who doesn't have a regard for anybody else. A lot of funny moments come from people being sick of him, especially with Andy, who is Gary's best friend, but the total opposite opposite of him. He doesn't have any nostalgia for the past like Gary does, because he's a lot more mature and actually has things going on, but Gary really can't move on, keeping that same tape that his friend gave him years ago, going out of his way to keep the same car.
To replace the brakes, suspension, exhaust, seats, wheels, paneling, carburetor, manifold, whole engine really.
Wearing the same clothes. I don't know, I just really like the dynamic between the two. There's so much more of an interesting contrast between them. Even though Andy is pretty sick of Gary, you can tell it's because he wants him to be better. No matter what Gary does, he will always be loyal to him and vice versa. One of my favorite moments in the movie is when Gary is on the 10th pub, the aliens are chasing them, and he decides to throw Andy the keys to his car so they can escape, which shows with all of his flaws, he does care about his friends. But what really ties his character together so well is the reveal about why he cares about the Golden Mile so much. It's because it represented what he lost after high school. He expected every day of his life to be like that, just full of adventure. He didn't realize the world didn't work that way, and Gary wasn't ready for that, even trying to take his own life. You initially think Gary is some asshole, but deep down he's a broken man who had his freedom taken away from him. But I really love how they conclude his character. By the end, when everything goes to shit and the world gets destroyed, he finds happiness that doesn't require drinking his feelings away. He does it by protecting the people who had their freedom taken away, finding some purpose in his life. Like I said, this trilogy just encapsulates what makes Edgar Wright such a special filmmaker. Fun editing style, clever jokes that don't feel tedious. In reality, they serve multiple purposes, either setting up an important beat or foreshadowing how the movie will play out. While there are those small details that I really appreciate, he does not forget to craft really great characters with powerful arcs. What all of these characters really have in common is that they represent a phase that comes with growing up, getting your life together, crafting important connections, and finding purpose. In all honesty, I really don't see Edgar Wright topping any of these movies, but either way, I'm still excited for anything he makes. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe.